So how is it I want to say this? I need to try to encourage everybody to read the Bible. How do I do that? There's an awakening that needs to happen. People need to understand what it is they are believing in. Christianity pushes you have to live according to God's word, that being known as the Bible. But how many of us have ever really sat down and read this book cover to cover? There's a lot of reading to do in that book. It's huge. It's a massive undertaking, and for most it just seems overwhelming. But the fact is, really, if you start reading it, once you start reading it, you probably find that it's hard to put down. There are a lot of really intriguing, interesting parts to the Bible, and there are some kind of more boring ones that could be skipped by those that really don't care to read things that really have not a lot of meaning. You could skip Kings, although to me I found it kind of interesting. It's very historical, tells a lot about the actual kings that existed during certain periods of time, that the scribes actually wrote about. Tells the different generations of kings and certain things that happened during their reigns. Romans, a lot of interesting historical information in that one as well. Numbers, it's quite repetitive. It's recounting of the population at the time, at least as far as was known to the people in the area that these censuses were being taken. We're talking about the African and Asian continents, where most of the stories in the Bible occurred. Most of the historical information that's contained in the Bible is from that area. And archaeological studies these days have found a lot of things to support several of the stories in the Bible, like Sodom and Gomorrah, for example, the twin cities that, were condemned for their sin and buried under fire and brimstone. They have uncovered cities that were buried under a volcanic explosion back in that time. So of course people would think that God was raining down hellfire on them for their sins, and the ones that were left would write about that, certainly, and document it as such an event. Makes perfect sense. No true meaningful deception there, just a misunderstanding by those later reading and translating the documents when they were written and put into the Bible. because I'm hoping, I'm assuming most everybody knows the Bible was printed. I have it written in my my article that's online available. Just Google it, the Bible dash a good book. I'll post a label. That was an essay I did in school about 3 years back. That I researched how the Bible was put together, and it's a very, very interesting story that I at the time wasn't aware. So I don't. Maybe a lot of people aren't. Maybe people need to be aware. As I'm sure you all know, it's a book made of many other books, which were actually all written by many different men long, long ago, before paper even existed. Some scratched on soft metal tablets, and others carved into stone. These are scriptures that go back well before documented historical times, and then up into some early, where we started keeping better records, and some later scriptures were written on rice paper, rolled up in scrolls. To go through all of these tablets and scriptures that had been found, and decide what to include and what not to include in this book that they were going to canonize, and to become the basis of the Church of England. It's kind of frightening when you think about it, that such a small group of men could have such power over people that to this day, some 400 years later, we are still revering this book that this small group of men decided was worthy of holiness, and the things that it has done, and the things it's driven people to do in the name of God, and the lies that have been built on it, and the deceptions that have come from it, is simply frightening to me. And people need to know. People need to read for themselves what is in this book, so everybody really knows the truth in the Bible. And there is truth in the Bible. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's a good book. There's historical fact. There's much wisdom. There is scientific knowledge far beyond its years. My favorite book, the one I think everybody should start with, Ecclesiastes. Preacher. Ecclesiastes knew what he was talking about. He spoke of things that were not known to mankind at that time, like this is my Bible. It's my maiden name. I got it when I was 8 years old. It's been taped back together on the edges here, and you can see mine is in different volumes. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteneth to his place where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and wind returneth again according to its circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, and yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. How did he know that? According to this, chapter 1 was written in like 977 BC. So, almost 3,000 years ago? We didn't know the world was round then. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. There is no new thing under the sun. So in other words, he knew that life repeats itself in cycles, that all of this has been done before and will be done again. There are a few books within the book. This is chapter 3. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to rend, a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, a time to hate. A time of war, a time of peace. It goes on. It goes on to talk about how beautiful God has made everything in this time, and how he has set the world in men's heart, so that no man can find out the work from God that he made from beginning to end. He says everyone should eat, drink, and be merry, and enjoy all the gifts of God, but to do good in his labor. People, you need to read this book. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing. It's only 9 pages long. 9 pages. I think pretty much any one of us can handle that. Start here. And then think. This is just one book. One man's ideas, opinions, inspirations, And in all of this, there are many, many, many others. Ideas, opinions, and inspirations. Beautiful stories, history, wisdom, knowledge. Things we can all learn from, whether they be literal truth or not. In fact, the things that are obviously not still teach so much about the way we once were, or ideas men once had that were really just ridiculous. Like saying a woman shouldn't speak in church. That's in here. Says you shouldn't cut your hair. We've all probably broken that one. No marks upon the skin. Of course, you know, our tattoos are... no. But there's some awesome stuff in here, too. And everybody needs to just read the book. And then we can face religion with the facts. Armed with the facts ourselves. We'll all have the knowledge. Not just the priests, the high priests, the God's servants, only those esteemed enough to know. People, this is for everybody. This is for every one of us. I am urging you, please read the Bible. Find out what's truth and what's not, what's fact and what's fiction. There's a statement in here that even says there are allegories in this book. An allegory is a fictional representation of human characteristics using fictional characters. That is the actual definition from Webster's dictionary. Fictional representation, fictional characters. Yes, some of the stories in the Bible are not literal truth, but they are meant to teach, to inspire, to uplift, to empower. And if you read this book, it will empower you. It will empower you with so much knowledge that you will be able to face every hypocrite head on, and anyone who ridicules you for your beliefs. You can say, read the book. Just read the book. So, I want to challenge America. No, I want to challenge the world to read the Bible. And then feel free to make your own videos. Link them to my channel. Post comments here. What you feel about the Bible. Even if you've just read a portion. Give me your ideas. Give me your opinions. Share with the world your inspiration. Just like they did here, but not to rule, not to take control, not to try to force people to believe anything, just to share what you have learned, what you felt, what you feel you now know. Please, everyone, I urge you, read the Bible. Thank you. Have a great week, everybody. God bless. He goes on to say, "Is there anything whereof it may be said, See, this is new? It hath already been of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things," he says, "neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under the heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I communed with mine own heart, saying, Lo, I am become to the great estate, have gotten more wisdom than they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I gave my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this is also vexation of spirit. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge also increaseth sorrow." Chapter 2 goes on to say, "I said in mine heart, Go now, and I will prove with mirth, enjoy, therefore pleasure, and behold, this is also vanity. I said of laughter, It is mad, and of mirth, what doeth it?" He says, "I sought in mine heart to give myself unto wine, yet acquainting myself unto wisdom, that I might see what was that good for the sons of men, which they should do under the heaven all the days of their life." He goes on to say he made great works, built houses, planted vineyards, made gardens and orchards, and planted trees in them of all kinds of fruits. He said he made pools of water to water with the wood that brought forth the trees. He got servants and maidens. When they were born in his house, he raised cattle, gathered silver and gold, and all the particular treasure of kings, had men and women singing. So I was great, he says, and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. And whatsoever mine eyes desired, I kept not from them. I withheld not my heart from any joy. For my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion for my labor, he said. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do. And behold, it was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. And I turned myself to behold wisdom and madness and folly. For what can the man do that cometh after the king? Even that which hath already been done. Then I saw that wisdom excelleth folly, as far as light excelleth darkness. The wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walketh in darkness. I myself perceived also that one event happeneth to them all. He's speaking of death. So he said, I said in my heart, as it happeneth to the fool, so it happeneth even to me. And why, then, was I more wise? Then I said in my heart, that this is also vanity. For there is no remembrance of the wise more than the fool forever. Seeing that which now is in the days to come shall be all forgotten. And how dieth the wise man? Same as the fool. Therefore I hated life. He said, because of the work that is wrought under the sun is grievous unto me. For all is vanity and vexation of spirit. Yea, I hated all my labor which I had taken under the sun, because I should leave it unto the man that shall be after me. And who knoweth whether he shall be a wise man or a fool? Yet he shall have rule over all my labor wherein I have labored, and wherein I have shewn myself wise under the sun. This is also vanity. Therefore I went about to cause my heart to despair of all the labor which I took under the sun. For there is a man whose labor is in wisdom, and in knowledge, and in equity. Yet to a man that hath not labored therein, shall he leave it for his portion. This is also vanity and great evil. For what hath man of all his labor, and of all the vexation of his heart, wherein he hath labored under the sun? For all his days are sorrow, and his travail grief. Yea, his heart taketh not rest in the night. This is also vanity. There is nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink and be merry. He should make his soul enjoy his good labor. This also I saw, that it was from the hand of God. For who can eat, or who else can hasten hereunto more than I? For God giveth to a man that is good in his sight, and wisdom, and knowledge, and joy. But to the sinner he giveth travail, to gather and to heap up, that he may give to him that is good before God. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit.